So hello everyone, welcome to our new session. So it will be a session around mobile apps, smart strategy to retain and monetize your gamers. So my name is Jean, I'm working in our headquarters in Dublin. I'm strategic partner manager, helping mobile app developers for France and Nordics markets. I'll be on stage with Marie. Marie who is managing the mobile apps business for European region. So let's dig into this presentation. So why I'm here? So obviously you're here at Slush, you're well aware of how important is the mobile today. So today we have more mobile than we have people in the world. And this is still growing, and more than this, we have the smartphone share within this mobile ecosystem is growing more and more every year. So this is why we are here, and this is why mobile app development is very important today. More than this, we do use smartphone, but the most important part here is that we do use mobile apps a lot. So every day, a normal user will spend at least an hour spending on mobile apps. So basically, you spend more time on your apps than you spend on your desktop or on your mobile browser. Okay, so the mobile apps is key. That's where the user is. That's where the user is spending his time. And this data is still growing year on year. So this is also a key important message here. Now that we talked about usage, we talked about mobile penetration, it's also interesting to know when we talk about business, how the revenue is growing regarding this business. So as you can see today, we are talking about $10 billion $10 billion business, and this will continue to grow. And in 2017, we expect this business to be $70 billion business. So this is huge. We are talking about big numbers here. So it's a lot driven by mobile game today, but it won't be only about mobile game. As you can see in 2017, the apps will also represent a fair share of revenue. Okay, so that's important to notice that mobile game is not only the revenue driver here today. So now, when we talked about all these mobile apps, all this business ecosystem, that's also a very complex ecosystem for a mobile app developer. When you talk to a mobile app developer that have millions of downloads for a specific mobile app, there's also a lot of data to analyze. So imagine you have 10 million users playing maybe 2 sessions a day, playing 40 games a day. That's a lot of data points to analyze and to get through to understand what's happening on your app. Is your app good? Are the user satisfied with your app? What can you do better? So this a lot of data that you need to analyze to understand how to make a better work, how to make more revenue with your app as well, and how to make your business successful. But when we ask this question, and when we have this discussion with mobile app developer, and we ask them, do you leverage all this data that you have? What we see most of the case, in a lot of scenarios, that they don't leverage the data point that they collect from different analytical tools. So it can be Google Analytics tool, obviously. You have a lot of data that you can leverage to understand how you can improve your app. And we tend to say that don't be data dragon. So I don't know if you all seen Lord of the Ring, when you have this dragon sitting on the huge hill of gold and not obviously using this gold, but keeping this gold for himself. So that's basically what happened with a lot of mobile app developers. So what we encourage you today to do is to leverage this data to make a smarter business, basically, and to take decisions based on this data. So obviously, we came here today to talk about the solution that we are here to offer to help you to do this and to leverage this data, and to first better build the promotion and the marketing of your app, so better acquire new users. Then obviously engage better with them, keep them on your app, increase your retention, and firstly, better monetize them and better obviously increase your revenue based on your game. So what we do today, we have our AdWords platform that is here to do the app promotion. We have also Google Analytics that is here to help you to gather that data and take decisions based on this. And we have Google AdMob that is here to help you to monetize and grow your business thanks to your app. We are building this ecosystem, and we are putting all these tools together. They are able to communicate and to come at once to help you to take decision and basically to have impact on all of these buckets. So today we will talk a bit more about the monetization piece and how you can better increase your revenue thanks to our tool. So Mary will come on stage to talk about this.
Thank you, Jean. So let's talk about monetization. Before talking about monetization, could we do maybe a show of hands of people who own an app today? Mobile application? So, okay, maybe slightly less than half of you today. For those of you who don't have an app, I think there are a couple of principles that you need to think about before actually launching an app. So I'm not going to go too deep into that, but I just thought it would be good to have, at least this slide as a refresher to ask yourself the right questions before launching an app. So a couple of things to consider. Who's going to be my audience? If you have an app already, who's my audience? Is it a global audience? Is it a local audience? What am I going to target? What are the market trends? Okay, I'm launching an app, a gaming app. That's part of the topic of this session today. If I'm doing a puzzle app, do we see a couple of other puzzle apps on my market? How are these puzzle apps built, and how do I want to build my own game in this vertical? What is the consumer taste? Very important. What does my app has unique? What is new about my app? If I do a game, especially like a couple of games, you see them, card games, puzzle games, car racing games, then a lot of people launch this type of game, but what will my application have as a unique feature that other games won't have? And finally, one of the last questions you could ask yourself, in terms of user experience, very important. How do I make sure that I provide the best user experience ever when someone actually starts to download my app and then play or use it? Is it simple to navigate? Do I provide a seamless experience, whether my user is at home using his tablet, is in the train going to work using his smartphone, and then potentially at work using his desktop? Do I have a good transition with regard to what I'm offering him? So those are very important questions, and I think another point before monetization as well, which is extremely important, is simplicity. This is really a key principle, but make your app simple. If today you're getting the downloads, but you're noticing that the users are not staying, very difficult to retain. It's usually problematic that a lot of mobile application developers see. One key principle is around simplicity. So I'm going to read this quote from Fingersoft. So saying, when we build apps, our main focus is on gameplay. I realized something important as I went through the process of building hill climb racing. I realized that everything should be kept simple. Everything started working much better from that point on. Keep it simple. To me, the fact that users like what you've made is key to the definition of a successful app. So I couldn't have said it better. That's why it's up there. So what is important also is understanding the trends. So if we looked at the mobile application market 5 years ago, there is still quite a lot of users that were willing to pay for an application. Maybe about 50% of the users were willing to pay for an app, and the other 50% would go with a free mobile application. Today, it radically changed. It's a totally different picture. Only 10% of the users today are going to be willing to pay for an application. So if you're thinking about building an application today, think about it, and probably making a free app is a good way to go, because then you can reach 90% of the audience available out there. So let's say now you have a very good app, simple app, you've asked yourself all the questions, and then you might wonder, how do I start generating revenue? How do I make it successful and turn it into a sustainable business? So maybe some of you are here to meet with some investors. Can we do a show of hands? Anyone here? Okay, a couple of you. So yeah, Slush is actually renowned for that. You come here, you look for investors. That's a way of getting money and trying to get cash to then invest more and you know, invest in your existing apps or then build other apps. But it's only 15% of the way mobile app developers would actually go and make money today. The main way is actually, for 24% of the time, direct advertising. So for that, you probably need to have maybe a brand or a relatively big app already. But it basically means that you have advertisers who are interested by your app audience and are willing to pay for this audience to actually get click on their advertisement and then pay you for that. Another way, which is very popular on the gaming apps, it's in-app purchase. So there are a couple of applications doing that. A very creative way, especially in games, to make you pay so that you can reach another level, so that you can buy a life, so that you can get more coins or you can get superpower, whatever. There are a lot of different apps on the market doing that with also very creative way and using in-app purchase throughout the game to actually incentivize you to pay and stay longer in the game, etc. So this is like 20% of the time the way mobile application developers would make money. Another model is around subscription. When we talk about subscription, the obvious example that comes to mind is newspapers. So I live in Dublin. I read the Irish Times on my mobile. And I know that with the Irish Times, I can consume only maybe 10 articles a day. And then at some stage, I'll have a message saying, okay, if you want to read more, Marie, then please pay, right? And there are a good couple of magazines and newspapers who typically would go with this type of monetization. And finally, the last one for like 18% of the time is obviously through advertising and ad networks. And this is where I'm going to focus the rest of the presentation. With Google, we have an ad network and mediation platform which is called Google AdMob. And this is where I'm going to focus today. So the model we would probably recommend for you today is to go with a free mobile application. I've explained why earlier. And also usually what we find works best is to combine in-app purchase with advertising. If you look at the trends today, this type of monetization model is really booming. And it grew by 70% over the last year. So very promising. And we see a lot of success with this type of model. So at Google, we have a solution for that, which is Google AdMob. And we have a vision for this solution. We want this solution to allow you to monetize. We want this solution to allow you to grow. And then we want this solution to allow you to scale and develop. The first topic is around monetization and smart monetization. What is extremely important when you have an application is to understand your users and to understand your audience. So you will have some users who will be very engaged with your app and who will, for example, be very social about your app, sharing on social media, etc. You need to understand who these users are, and you need to understand how you respond to that. When I talk about that and users being social, I have an example in mind, which is a partner with whom we're working closely with from Turkey. They're called Gram Games, and one of their top hits is called 1010, which is a puzzle game. And what's interesting with them is that they noticed at some stage that so I don't know if some of you know Hilary Duff. Anyone know? Yeah, someone there, good taste. So Hilary Duff, if you don't know her, she's a famous musician in the US, but what's important more than that is that she has 4.5 million followers on Twitter. And she tweeted about 1010 as the best game ever, like she couldn't sleep because she was playing it so much. And what's very interesting with Gram Games at the company is that they really responded super quickly to this comment, commented on Twitter to kind of really continue the buzz around what this singer was posting. And they even went up to recording their own version from one of her songs, which then really kind of continue to maintain the buzz. So again, it's very important to understand who these users can be, to maybe also segment them and also understand that the reply then on social media is extremely important, and you need to bear that in mind. Your users might also be willing to click on an ad. So again, you need to understand who they are, because those ones will allow you to generate money. Others might be responding to more video formats, for example. And finally, they might also be willing to make purchase. Again, very important to understand who these users are so that you really tailor the experience they will have within your application. So I flagged that some users might be willing to make some purchases within your app. The key figure today is that only 2 to 6% of your overall audience is actually willing to be paying within your application. So that's very important to understand. We have a partner with who we work with, Newbie, who shared kind of these users willing to pay, and they were saying to us that it was around 5% for them. So if I have 5% of my users willing to pay, then how do I actually generate revenue with the 95% of the rest of the users? I really need to have a strategy if I really want to make my business grow. And then on top of that, what you really need to understand is it's not only 5% of my users in the case of Newbie, but it's also when are they going to make the first purchase. So 22% of the users might be doing their first purchase at their first session. So maybe those guys are really what we would call the super whales. So they're really like the ones, the user you want to really show them love. You take care of them. You know that they're going to be heavy spender. So we really need to know who they are. Then on this 5% of the users that are going to be purchaser, usually about a third of them are going to be willing to buy between the 2nd and the 10th sessions on your mobile application. Again, if they're not willing to buy straight away, you might want to expose them to in-app purchase, but maybe there are other things that you can also offer to them during their mobile app experience, because you know they're not going to buy straight away. And then almost half of your users, the ones that are going to be paying within the app, are going to be only doing that after at least 10 sessions. So they will have to get back and reopen your app 10 times before actually buying something. Again, very important to understand who they are and at what stage they're going to be willing to pay, so that again you customize the experience that they're going to have within your app, and you really tailor the content and also in-app purchase, advertising, video, whatever you want to offer them along the way. With Google Ad Mode, we have an automatic solution that can really help you with that. We can automatically detect the users that will actually be willing to spend within your app, and then the users that are actually going to be what we call non-spender. And this is very powerful because it really allows to then again segment the users automatically and then provide them with the best user experience at the right time. So here there's a case study that we did with 6 Waves, which is one of the partners who very quickly embraced this feature in app purchase house ads. And they tried it, started using AdMob back in 2014. What they do, I think they're Hong Kong based, and they do mainly games and social games. And when they tried this feature, what was really brilliant for them was that they realized that 60% of the users they were getting through the in-app purchase functionality with AdMob were actually first-time buyers. So they were really able to embrace new buyers using this functionality. And then what was also extremely important for them is that they managed to re-engage after 2 weeks the users that were actually purchasers, but that were quite quiet or that were not purchasing that much anymore. So they really managed to re-engage these users as well, 20% of them. So it proved to be super successful and very interesting for them to use as a feature. If you're not using in-app purchase outside, there's also a couple of other options for you to actually segment your audience and understand your users. You own the data. You can use a lot of different analytics tools that are available on the market. At Google, we have Google Analytics. Again, if you don't want to use automatic solution, you own your data and you can really smartly use that to actually do your segmentation yourself. Then you understood how you wanted to monetize, but how do you grow? What's great about Google AdMom is that we have a very large demand source. So with Google AdMom, you get access to all the advertisers in the world that are buying through Google AdWords, which is the main advertising solution on the buy side with Google. You can also do direct deals if you want, so this privileged relationship you might have with advertisers. You have access to a lot of third-party buyers and agencies, and usually what they do, these agencies, they buy through the double-click ad exchange. And then finally, you can make good use of the mediation with AdMom. So I'm going to explain a bit more what you can do with the mediation. So one thing you might be familiar with is what we call cross-promotion. So I have a game today. I know another mobile application developer in my community who is also doing game, and what we do is we kind of exchange traffic. So I give him a creative that is placing in his mobile application so that I generate downloads through his traffic, and he might do the same with my application. He gives me a creative, I push it in my mobile application, and then it generates traffic and downloads for him. There's also another way to do that, maybe more extended way of doing that, which is reservation. So reservation really allows multiple of developers like you on the market to actually kind of book inventory, if you want, with you, so that they generate new downloads. And what's very interesting with this feature is that you can really set up and agree on a number of impressions or a number of clicks, for example, that you want to give to the other mobile app developer or the other company. You can really pace the campaign. Okay, the end of year is coming with all the parties, you know, going with that, and then maybe this company is willing to do a pre-booking with your mobile application before that. So it's very important to pace the campaign and between now and the end of the month, for example. And then if you have sales team, but usually it really depends on the size of your company, it's also a good way for your salespeople to actually book inventory. To help manage this campaign, what is important also is that you can really decide the price you're selling the inventory to. And also you can do what we call frequency capping. If I'm a user today, I might be a bit annoyed if you're constantly showing me the same ad, and if I kind of open your application 3 times a day and I'm always exposed to the same ad, then, you know, again, it's probably not the best user experience ever. So you can set up what we call frequency caps that would say, okay, I'm going to show this ad to this user, but maybe limit it to 1 exposure a day or 2 exposure a day. So those are very powerful tools. Again, very important to understand the type of format you're going to use. So with Google AdMom, you can access the native ad format, which is very integrated within your application and provide a good user experience. And then richer formats around display and video format with TrueView, for example, which is giving you the ability to skip the video if you don't want to see it as a user. With Google AdMob, we've also worked a lot, again, on formats, just trying to make sure that the ads were providing a good user experience and very tailored to the mobile applications. So you can see we've worked a lot on material design, and this has been launched a couple of months back with really kind of nice ad formats. Finally, with Google AdMob, you can scale in a very smart way. So Google AdMob is not only an ad network, it's a very powerful tool as mediation, which means that you can use Google AdMob, but you can also use multiple sources of multiple providers and third party that you can actually plug into AdMob to ensure that you're getting actually the best revenue possible. And you can plug in these other networks or third parties, whether they use banners, whether they use interstitials, videos, and even rewarded ads. So today we are partnering with a lot of third parties in the market, and Google AdMob is compatible with over 40 actually third parties today. And this is something we're really constantly adding and working with. I think the last month only we added something like 5 new ad networks to our mediation tool. So you don't necessarily need to use AdMob only. You can use, again, a lot of these players in the industry. If you think they generate value for you, then there is a one-stop tool with Google AdMob that you can use to actually leverage that. And what's interesting as well is that with the agreement we have with the other third parties on the market, we have functionalities such as ad network optimization. We're able to pull automatically, you know, at the time an advertisement is called, we're able to pull the level of revenue per thousand impression. And if, like in my example, you're using 6 different ad networks, then you want to know, okay, which one am I going to choose from so that I'm getting the best revenue possible. And with Google AdMob, we can do that automatically with the networks we have an agreement with. So we can know whenever you call an ad, you know, what's going the highest paying network, and then we make sure that we call the ad from this ad network so that the revenue is the highest revenue for you. Yeah, and finally, a last feature, like I had to choose from a couple of features, but if, like me, you had a bit of trouble accessing the Wi-Fi yesterday at the event, I just thought this one was probably a good feature to show you, which is the ability to get offline data. So I think that's it for today. We really wanted to give you a brief overview of the mobile application landscape with a focus on games, and also, you know, give you some hints so that you could understand how Google AdMob could actually help you monetize, grow, and scale your business. Hopefully you enjoyed the session.